Women's Wednesday. Isn't that what you call it, Jason? What you call it last week? Women's Wonderful Wednesday? Wednesday? One of those things. Women are wonderful every day, not just on Wednesdays.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to tell you. So, today's hump day, of course, and we want to let you know that before they became a force, those wonderful women I was talking about, they were a force to be reckoned with here in America. Right here in Baltimore, there doesn't seem to be a larger voting bloc even close to matching the enormous impact. Of course, I'm speaking about black women in particular. Today, we are joined by a very powerful black woman representing some other very powerful black women. And we're going to get to the discussion about what they are doing to help get out the vote and to help do so many other things in the community as well. Before I get into that discussion, I need to let you know DMV Daily Radio is the program that is owned, operated, and produced by the DMV Daily Media Group, Maryland's premier communication firm specializing in radio, television, and online productions like the podcast program you see each and every day. Get your message heard each and every day by advertising on DMVDailyNews as well as on DMV Daily Show, through Periscope, YouTube, at DMV Daily News. You can listen to the programs, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and Alexa. Just say, Alexa, I want to hear DMV Daily. We'll pull up right in your living room. And we are about to launch DMV Daily Radio. It's a little secret. We're going to let you know when we're going to make that jump, but it's coming soon. So just wanted to let you know that. We also want to let you know that this show is brought to you by Politicom Strategic Solutions, successfully helping getting candidates elected since the 1970s. Politicom has mastered the art of political communications and become Maryland's premier campaign consulting firm. If you are looking to get elected to office, make sure to contact them today. 240-242-7505 is the number. PoliticomStrategic.com, I believe, is the website. You definitely want to go there. I've heard today about a half a dozen new candidates that are going to be running for city council come November 6th. Once this is all said and done, that starts the 2020 election. You can best believe, not only nationally, but here in the city of Baltimore, we have a mayoral race, city council races all across the city that will go on in 2020. And I'm sure many of those reasons what's going on. And then on November 7th, the day after Election Day, I want you to know, we'll be joining the studio again. Maya Rockamore Cummings will be in the building. We will be talking about winners and losers of the 2016 elections, so you definitely want to tune in to that program. Live, we're going to be live out in the community on Election Day near a polling place to drive people out to vote at the polls. We'll be at Green Mountain North Avenue on Election Day, same time, 4 to 5 p.m. as always, but we're going to have a poll party from 3 p.m. till close of the polls till 8 p.m. So we'll be live streaming straight from Green Mountain North. Come down and see us. We're driving people to the polls. You ain't got to ride. We're going to make sure to get you there. Those who have been convicted of a felony, I tell you this each and every day, you still have today and tomorrow to go to any early voting site around the city, around the state, register to vote, and vote all at the same time. Okay? So there's no excuse. Get out to vote. And I'm telling you, we got some great information about to come to you today about some ladies getting out the vote. But look, guess what? Yesterday, now I know yesterday I said it then, and now I can say it all over again. Yesterday I said, you know what, Monday, Mark, we had more people vote for early voting on the 5th day going on. Yesterday, 91,480 people came out to vote all across the state of Maryland. That's put us up over 460,000 people have come out already to register to vote, but that's still only 11% of the electorate. I want y'all to get out there, make your voice heard. And that's only, we got 3.9 million people who are registered to vote right now. But guess what? If you're not registered, even if you've been convicted of a crime, if you're home, you can go register and vote. You'll add to that total. I want us to hit 4 million before tomorrow night at 8 p.m. in terms of registered voters, and I want to make sure that at least 80% of those come out to vote on November 6th. I know it's a lofty goal, but we can get there. Speaking of lofty goals, we are joined in the studio by another young lady who's going to give us a reminder of, I'm sure, with some lofty goals she had when she started what's called the CeaseFire movement here in the city of Baltimore. We have one of those wonderful weekends upcoming as well. Erricka Bridgeford is in the studio with us right now. How you doing, young lady?
Good afternoon. Oh, that's nice applause. That's pretty good. Now I'm going to want that everywhere I go. Yeah, so Ogun is here with me. We co-founded Baltimore CeaseFire 365. It happens February, May, August, and November, every first Friday through Sunday, except in May is Mother's Day weekend, where we honor parents who've lost their children to violence. But the whole point is just to have 3 solid days where we're on purpose. Everybody in the city is just focused on being peaceful and celebrating life. Those are the 2 goals. If we can just do that on purpose for 3 days, because we deserve it, because our lives matter. And so November 2nd through 4th is the November CeaseFire movement. People can go to BaltimoreCeaseFire.com, click the calendar. You'll see all the life-affirming events that people have planned to happen all over the city. If you follow us on Instagram at Baltimore CeaseFire and Facebook, you will see everything we're doing all weekend long. Hopefully nobody will get killed, but if they do, our response to murder is different. We're not numb to it. We're not just saying all condolences to the family. We're showing up in the murder location to pour love and light into the space. So follow us all weekend long, and change your profile pictures to the CeaseFire logo. You know, like, get involved, be peaceful, celebrate life this weekend.
So those who are listening, I know many of people, including myself and others, who may have the signs, who may participate in it. I know we see you out there with the sage, and what can somebody who's listening right now, who may not know how to get involved, but they want to get involved, they don't really know what to do, what do you tell those listeners who want to just get involved, whether it be this weekend or moving forward?
Yeah, so it's a heart movement. You can really do whatever you want to do to get involved. Any peaceful thing you want to do, whatever you think needs to be done in this city, you can do it and make it a part of the CeaseFire movement. But you can email us. If you go to BaltimoreCeaseFire.com, click the contact tab, ask to join the listserv, and so you'll get information. We don't email people to death. Like, once a week, we send out a blast. We have public meetings for people to come to talk about how they want to be involved, what it is they want to do, and then people collaborate and do a lot of things together. So that's been a huge, beautiful part of the movement. And so we don't shame people for how little or how much they get involved. If all you do is change your profile picture, or you share the message this weekend, we ask people, tell 3 people every day about the movement, that, hey, you know, the next CeaseFire weekend is coming. What we know is that when people know that it's a CeaseFire in Baltimore, they actually honor it. And they do what they have to do to keep their community safe. But there's over 6,000 people in Baltimore, so when a lot of people don't know what's happening, that's a big part of what we're up against right now. And so the more of us are talking about it, even if it's a debate about it, at least you know about it.
Right. I know it has to be a lot of operational costs and things that go into it, even if it's no more than printing the CeaseFire flyers that we see all across the city.
Because we give that out for free. People can pick up as many posters and flyers as they want. So on the website, there's definitely a donation tab. You can click any little bit of coins you got. You can send them on over. Every little bit helps. And when people get killed during CeaseFire weekends, we give $500 to that family to use however they want to. And so that's just a love offering from us, because we care that you lost somebody. We want to uphold that person's name and whatever that family needs.
Tell them the website again.
So BaltimoreCeaseFire.com is the website, and we're Baltimore CeaseFire on Instagram and on Facebook. It's Be More CeaseFire on Twitter.
All right, Erricka Bridgeford, you heard it from here first. I got to put this award. We honored her last year. Still got the award sitting around the office, and I got to put it in the truck because I run across it randomly.
That is so true.
It was a Terra Cafe last time. Now it's so I got to put it there. So if I finally run across you again, I can finally get you the award.
Thank you so much,
sister, for everything that you do. Brother in the back, I see you. Peace, brother, for everything y'all do. That really is a
because there's no way we can do this by ourselves, right? There's only 6 of us organizers. This is hundreds and hundreds of people in Baltimore who do this work and push peace forward.
Right. And we got to do it, family. There ain't nobody going to do it for us.
Only us can save us. That's
absolutely.
it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, you heard of it. Look, bottom line is we can talk about voting. And voting, you know me, is something that I've been pushing for years, working to try to change that movement and, trying to get ex-felons the right to vote and everything else. But guess what? If we can't live to see tomorrow, you're never going to make it to an election to be able to vote. We got to start saving our own. I mean, it's just, we see how certain people react to even tragedies in this nation. I don't care if you're the president of the United States. That don't mean that you actually have the decorum to know how to handle yourself in situations like that. But we ain't getting into all that today. Today, we are joined in the studio by the Director of Development for Black Girls Vote. I don't know if most of y'all know, she's the fiance of one of the Yin Yang twins. Oh. You know that? Calvin and Kalen Young, I call them the Yin Yang. That's Baltimore's Yin Yang twins. But welcome to the studio. Dea Thomas is in the building.
Thank you so much for having me. Mr. Politics, Mr. Bates.
Hello.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for coming out. So, first of all, how do you feel with over 450,000 people coming out to vote in 6 days of early voting?
Yes, first it's inspiring to see the turnout to increase. I think over 200% at this point for early voting in particular, and also to have so many people register to vote. It's our mission, our drive. We are all about voter engagement, voter mobilization, and organizing is difficult, right? We know that there's a lot of apathy, particularly within communities of color. They don't feel like their vote matters. They don't feel like that they are represented, and they often feel locked out from the process. So we meet people where they are. When we're talking about change, people are most likely to change in their home. Even if it's starting a new exercise routine or starting a new diet, you're most likely to do it when you're at your home. So when we meet our new neighbors and our new voters where they are in the communities where they're most comfortable and talk to them about voter engagement, they're more likely to listen to us and change and hopefully register. And then the next step is getting them to the polls to vote.
So Black Girls Vote, explain it, because most people know about Black Girls Rock, right? And we saw that national phenomenon. And then Black Girls Vote came about. And I think this is a Baltimore specific movement, correct? But you have it across the country.
We're a global movement at this point. I think that we launched in 2015. Our founder, CEO, Nykidra Robinson, she had a vision, and she launched in 2015 to engage, educate, and mobilize women of color to the polls. And we have grown significantly over the last 3 years. We just inducted 41 young women in our first collegiate chapter at Morgan State University. This just happened last month. And those women are putting in work. These young ladies, they are the future. They're the demographic that we're targeting, because we're targeting that 18 to 25-year-old age group, because those are our next leaders. I mean, as much as I like to think, I'm a millennial, I'm young, I'm the next leader, really it's them, right? So we're trying to pass that torch now. I just celebrated a birthday. I'm in my mid-30s now, and I know it's not old, but our babies are growing up, and they're ready to lead. They're ready to lead now, and they're ready to take on that charge. And we can see that within these young students at Morgan State University. We can see that within these high school students that are excited to be a part of Black Girls Vote and excited to register to vote.
So we got the old woman now, Dea Thomas. Is there.
Yes, we're passing it on. We're passing the torch.
So my question is, and I don't know, maybe, if the founder was here, I could ask her, right? But what happened to Black guys vote, right? Black girls? What, are y'all going to have maybe next year found a Black boys vote too? So we can have a partnership?
We have a new pin that says this guy supports Black Girls Vote. And the reason why
I like that.
Black Girls Vote, I'll make sure I get one to you. I'll make sure I get one to you. The reason why Black Girls Vote is because we are a serious voting bloc, and we are the most loyal voting bloc. So
speaking of the founder,
good.
So I guess I can ask her
now. Yeah, keep it going. I'm just here. I'll let her do the work. So, but when we talk about African American women, women of color, we are a loyal voting bloc, particularly in Baltimore City. When Black women vote, you'll win the election, and that's why Black Girls Vote. And we also take our brothers with us, our husbands with us, everyone with us comes to the poll. When I go to vote, it's a family affair, actually.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but fairness, I think when guys go to vote, Miss Robinson is in the building. Nike is here.
Her son is here. He is here. We're all here.
We're all here.
That's right.
But the question I was asking is, black girls vote. We saw black girls rock, right? We know the movement is there. We know that women have always traditionally been that strong voting bloc that you can depend on.
Yep.
Black men haven't. So can we get a black guy's vote sometime?
So that's the thing. Sometimes we got to take one step at a time. We're still learning and trying to perfect black girls vote. However, we do have some buttons that I have, and it says this guy supports black girls vote, because we understand that once we get a movement started, a lot of movement starts with women, that our men will follow, and it's an inclusive movement, and we are encouraging our young women to bring their husbands, their boyfriends, their brothers, bae to the poll with you, so that folks know that we're doing this together, and more importantly, that we're a stronger force together.
Absolutely. And people don't realize, they look at the civil rights movement, you see Malcolm, see Martin, you see all these male figures, but it was the black women that supported and was the real backbone to that movement.
Yeah,
and there's a great book that I read about that. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but anyway, what kind of spurred you into action to found this group back in 2015?
Yeah, but to your point about black women, it's also understanding that we have to work together collectively, and black women, we need our kings. And sometimes people ask us, what about the men? And we're in no way, shape, or form trying to emasculate the black man or say we don't need you. We just understand that systematically there have been things that have happened to black men that have counted us out of the system, you guys out of the system. So it's so important for us, so Black Girls Vote, it's about entrepreneurship and economics, that we get more black women to become entrepreneurs and in business, so that they can give jobs and opportunities to their husbands, their brothers, their sons, right? Because they can't just go and get a job, unfortunately. So why did I start Black Girls Vote? Three things that happened. First, I want to thank Dea for being here. On behalf of Black Girls Vote. One, Freddie Gray incident. I live in West Baltimore. I can walk within Mondawmin Mall and Frederick Douglass High School where the riots happened. And while people were talking so negatively about the young people, I saw that these young people organized in a matter of minutes. And they organized with their cellular devices, and they were out there saying something, and they wanted us to hear them. Second thing, I worked in Maryland state government. I was a political appointee under the O'Malley Brown administration, and those 6 months had passed since Governor Hogan had came in when he defeated Anthony Brown. I walked into work one day. I had a job. That afternoon, I got pulled into the office. I was at the Department of Housing and told me that was my last day. And as a black woman, that was extremely hard, because I'm often the person that people go to for help. My family members, my nieces, auntie, and I was in a position of vulnerability. And last but not least, someone got murdered directly across the street from me. And as you guys know, the year 2015, there were 344 murders in the city of Baltimore, majority black men. So those are our husbands, those are our brothers, those are our sons. That's a community of people, black women, who are hurting as well. And when I looked at all three of those incidents, each one of those incidents are tied to politics or policy, one shape, way or form. And I looked at 2008, 2012 and said, hey, we delivered the presidency of President Obama. In 2016, we're coming upon a local mayoral election, as well as the election for a president of the United States coming up in 2016, excuse me. And I said,
so y'all delivered Trump too?
No. However, 94% of black women voted for Hillary Clinton, right? And so we have to look at the stats and saying that, hey, we are a powerful voting bloc, but what are we getting in exchange for our vote? So we got to have a different conversation. And one of the things that we're starting off with is getting folks energized and excited, especially our 18 and 25-year-olds, about voting. And then when we get that voting bloc, that's how we control a budget like the city of Baltimore, right? So it's a holistic approach, and it takes time, and it's a process.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming. And you got a question? I'm going to go to the line real quick.
Yeah. One of the questions that I have is, where do you see the organization saying next 5 to 10 years? Because you say now it's growing, not just locally, nationally, internationally. Where do y'all see the organization next 5 to 10 years?
Well, on the development side, as I mentioned earlier, we just launched our first collegiate chapter at Morgan State University. We already
Congratulations.
Thanks you. We already have, I think, 10 schools on our waiting list that are ready to launch. 20. I'm mistaken. 20 schools on our waiting list that are ready to launch a new chapter. And that takes resources, right? We have a very strong core of people that are dedicated to this mission and dedicated to this cause. And we were able to initiate 41 young women into Morgan State University, but now we have to take that show on the road. And we would love to be able to see a Black Girls Vote collegiate chapter in every single HBCU that's in the United States, but then start thinking about other institutions that care about voter mobilization, engagement, and making sure that the voices are heard in the community. So I think that that's definitely one thing that's on our agenda in the next 5 to 10 years. And it would be nice to see a new collegiate chapter every year and then do 2 collegiate chapters every year.
See, I have 2 little girls.
Yes.
So I have one 12 and one 2. So I got to get my 12-year-old ready.
Yes,
Then
right.
my 2-year-old will be following her. So I need to make sure we take care of this, because I will get her to go to Howard.
Oh, good. Good. HU, you know.
I went to Frostburg. What about the PWIs? but to your point, Ivan, it's so important that we get these young girls. And so I tell people I'm looking at 2024, because right now, this is a whole nother conversation. I don't know who can beat Donald Trump in 2020, right? Personally, we can have that's another conversation. But 2024, anything's up for grabs. So we have to talk to those 12-year-olds now, because that's 6 years from now, and they will be eligible to vote. And so when we hear young women talking about black girls vote, and we see young girls on, college campuses excited about voting and getting their friends to vote, and then young girls in middle schools and high schools talking about when can we get a Black Girls Vote chapter. So when I look at the NAACPs, the urban leagues of the world, right now our young generation don't feel as if they can relate to them, but we want to be that voice for them, and we want to be that place to say voting is dope, voting is cute. You can be a fly girl, you can be a hairstylist, you can whatever you want to do. Have your own boutique. You are part of Black Girls Vote, because when we look at the sororities, Dan and I both are in separate sororities. However, what we understand with sororities, you have to be college educated to join a sorority. Where I know women with GEDs that can wrap circles around women with PhDs. And so we want BGV, Black Girls Vote, to be inclusive of all women, no matter your age. It's cross-generational, and saying, hey, that we all have to come together to mobilize and strengthen our community. And for me, the only way that we'll be able to get out of this rut that we're in is through elections, economics, and entrepreneurship, starting with elections.
So what I need y'all to do is mobilize and organize around having polling place at Morgan State University. We've talked about this for years, tried to get the Board of Elections to move. They wouldn't do it. They needed an election, their own polling location. Right there at Morgan State and Coppin State, to be quite honest. But
well, I think for early voting, and what we did last Thursday in partnership with Tumblr with Black Girls Vote, and with the great leadership of Dr. Wilson, we did a demonstration to the polls. And it was with them. We walked there from the campus of Morgan State University. We walked to the League of Disabilities, people with disabilities, and right down the street. And we took young women who were excited about voting for the first time. So if not on the campus, just making sure that it's accessible and that they're knowledgeable that what's available to them. And we also pay for postage for absentee ballots, because as you know, there are a lot of students who are out of state who go to our universities, and they want to make sure, and we want to make sure that they're still involved in the process. So we said, hey, we'll pay for the postage. Just bring your absentee ballot. Here's a stamp, because we want to make sure and ensure that you vote and your voice is heard.
that's awesome. Gene, welcome to the DMV Daily Show.
Hey, what is it? Good evening, everybody. Good afternoon. I have a question, and you hit on everything that I was going to, in a sense, ask, because the last thing you talked about was the absentee ballot. And I've been doing the absentee ballot because I have a disability. I'm blind, and so my wife and I, use that, each time we vote. And it's, it's snail mail. You have to verify, and then they send you the application, and you put some stamps on it, and it's sent in. So I would encourage people who are older, elderly, whatever the correct term is, to utilize that method of voting and get involved in voting. My other question is, my son is he writes code, and so I get to talk to him about the technology. So do you have any initiatives in your organization in reference to using the technology, the cell phones possibly in the future, to to vote with the devices, etc.?
Thanks for your question.
Thank you, Gene, for calling, and thank you for just more importantly, being a loyal voter and, getting your son involved in STEM. I think it's so important that our young people are involved in, science, technology, engineering, and math. Currently, right now, we do not have anything specifically targeting or any policies or anything that we're working on that will introducing technology into voting. However, we do understand the importance of it and just making things accessible. That's something, again, in the near future we would like to explore more, but currently we do not. But there are some organizations out there that may have it. one organization comes to mind when you talked about your son coding. Even though he's a male, there's an organization called Black Girls Code that are teaching young people about coding and things like that. But that's something for us to definitely put on our list of things to explore. But, as Dea mentioned, we have limited resources and a small team of all volunteers, may I add. So no one on Black Girls Vote is a full staff member. So the women who are out here are volunteers. So most of them have full-time jobs and are working during the day and then the afternoon volunteering with Black Girls Vote indoor evening. So it takes a lot of manpower, as you can imagine, to do the work that we're doing. But it also takes passion. But thank you for that and your call.
Yeah. I would just add that one thing that we are doing towards technology is just tracking the amount of people that we do register to vote. And then the next step is to make sure that they get to the polls and see how many people we're getting to the polls. So as far as technology and data and capturing that data, that's something that we're working towards to maintain that we are a voting bloc. And it's something that we can show actually to promote more collegiate chapters and high school chapters.
Yep. So. We're working with a group called Empowered out of Atlanta. It's a group of African-American men. They're amazing. They flew from Atlanta last week to meet with us about data entry, coding, and they built an app. It's called Empowered, the EMPOWRD. And have your son look into that. We're working with them to, as Dea said, to get that data to more of our platform that'll strengthen our access to reach out to our listeners, our followers, and our supporters.
All right, welcome.
Hello, happy Halloween.
How big of a fine is that? 30 minutes late? That's about $50 fine.
Papa.
Jay,
I'm all for Black Girls Vote, but I need Black Girls Drive because the Beltway was clogged up too much.
Yeah, let's leave the money on the table. Who were driving? You said Black Girls Drive.
Well, it was mostly Black girls. I was looking in the window. I love y'all, but
I gotta agree with you on that one.
Whatever. Suspect in the attack us here.
We're going to change the subject.
Thank you.
But what I do want to talk about, you did talk about raising funds. I know, Dea, we were off the air and you were talking about a gala. So you want to go ahead and tell the listeners about the gala because this is this one of your major fundraisers?
This is our marquee event, and it will be on Friday, November 16th at the Forum Caterers from 8 p.m. to 12 p.m., and we are very excited. We have the first African-American elected female Senator, Carol Mosley Braun, that's going to be our keynote.
CMP.
And we're honoring some other important African-American women, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, Tiffany Lofton, who is the Youth Empowerment Director with NAACP, and then we'll also have a special message from Senator Kamala Harris. So we're working very hard. And then I think we just confirmed Stephanie Brown James from Collective PAC. She's going to be our moderator. So it's going to be a great evening, and it won't disappoint. I mean, it's certainly buy your tickets, buy a table.
Yep, and we're also going to announce today, and we haven't announced it yet, but announcing it here, Assemblywoman Diana Richardson from New York is going to be our third honoree, the Impact honoree. And if those who may not know who she is, she's the woman who you may have seen on the video trending that, when we talk about drugs and crack cocaine in our community, the black community, it was a crime issue. And now that it's in their community, it's a health issue. And so she's our third honoree that we're going to be honoring that evening. She's coming down from New York. And so it's so important for us that this event is not just for women who are professional women, but we have women in their 80s who'll be there. If you guys were there last year, we have high schools involved. We have young women involved. And so we want folks to know, as Ivan mentioned earlier, this is an event that you can bring your daughters to because they need to see that Black girl magic is real, but more importantly, they feel empowered that when they leave there, there's nothing better than a Black woman, and we're so proud and honored to be that.
And that's breaking news. You heard it right here.
It is. Tonight. I just got the flyer. I haven't even approved the flyer yet, but I just wanted to let you all know.
You like breaking news.
Yeah, it's breaking news. Yeah.
So where can people go, sign up, get tickets, and more importantly, purchase tickets for the event and find out more about Black Girls Vote?
BlackGirlsVote.com. We have an Eventbrite for the ball. It's blackgirlsvote.eventbrite.com. But all of our information is right on the website at blackgirlsvote.com.
Yeah, I asked before we started the show. Y'all had sponsors. You see the sponsors over here.
I tried to
Ain't
tell
nobody
you.
asked DMV Daily to sponsor.
But it's not too late. It's not too late.
What's good? You can get an ad in our booklet. We just had another sponsor come in today. 2 more sponsors come in today. It is going to be a sellout event, folks. We're just excited. We have folks not only just locally but nationally in DC who are excited about the event. So please, we would love to have DMV represented. Have you guys there? Again, bring your family members. It's okay if you're mother, your aunt, your grandmother wants to come, but also your daughters who want to come as well.
At least be a media partner.
Focusing on the young women at Morgan State University, our first Black Girls Vote Collegiate chapter, and those young women are on fire. When I see the work that they're doing, that's why it's so important to get young women. They have the energy that I could only dream I still had. They're like, yep, I'm tired, but I'm ready. I'm like, okay. And they're passionate about it. And once we see that, we're going to change the world. We had a group come in today. The East African delegation came in. About 13 people I spoke to this morning from Morocco, Egypt, Algeria, Tunisia. They were like, we want to bring you guys to East Africa. And we're like, we're trying to get to East Baltimore. Right? But it's so important that people see it and they believe in the vision. But I tell people, don't believe in me, believe in the next generation, because we have to pass the torch to these young Black girls who are magical.
Absolutely. Another man shot to death in Southwest Baltimore over Highlands Family, we are in a crisis.
Highlands Market today?
Yeah. And they shut down the school. Locked them down for a while during this time. 2 people were shot today already.
That's so sad.
It's ridiculous.
So
we heard Erricka Bridgeford on there earlier. CeaseFire is this weekend, right? But it has to go beyond just the weekend.
Yeah.
They do a wonderful effort collectively of bringing everything together, but their message is beyond just the weekend, right? And family, we need you to really engage your community, because this is getting outrageous. No police commissioner, no mayor is going to stop homicides. It's just not going to happen. Politician ain't going to that. But there's a lot of other things they can do. So make sure you get out to vote and vote for the right ones when you go out to vote. The right ones.
No, none of that.
Nah, you get that? The right ones. 461,000 people came out to vote. Yeah. Black girls vote. So how y'all vote? So we're gonna play a little quick game of who did it and why. Who you voting for governor again?
So keep in mind, we're nonpartisan organization.
Absolutely nonpartisan.
Yeah, they real slick with it, y'all. So it's an organization, but then as an individual, they're 2 different things. So we're here on behalf of Black Girls Vote, the organization. So we are voters, so you should know that we do vote. So who are you voting for? Who did you vote for?
I vote on election day.
Okay. Is it something about the tradition?
Absolutely.
About it? Okay.
I think they steal the votes out of.
He said he's going to write me in for governor. I got receipts.
Absolutely. And I'm going to take the picture. I'm going to tell you something. When Hogan ran, I told y'all this. When he first ran, when they first announced before the primaries, they gave DMV Daily the first in-depth one-on-one interview for Fox and all of them. 1 hour, both of them. Now, mind you, they didn't think they have a chance in the world. Well, Larry did, but not so much Rutherford.
Yeah.
They won. And I think they did a pretty good job in some aspects, but I think they ignored the hell out of Baltimore City and issues that relate to Black people in particular.
That you're passionate about, Baltimore City and Black people. Okay.
And I think, they did a disservice to themselves. We invited him on. Ben Jealous jumped at the opportunity. We did a one-on-one exclusive interview with him. And the funny thing is, we pulled up to his campaign offices, and I have my... I had somebody else's truck.
Yeah.
That had Hogan for governor sticker on the back.
Hogan Rutherford.
Now, mind you, his campaign manager, being somebody I can't say on air because FCC rules and what he is.
Shout out to Travis.
Tried to kill the interview because they know who I am.
Wow.
And they thought I wasn't going to give Ben a fair chance. I'm the former criminal justice chair of the NAACP. I like Ben was there when you were president. Great interview. Ben Jealous, Larry Hogan and them did not. First, their communication says, "Oh, we'll get back to us, son." Yeah, sure. So that would be perfect. 4 years later, this is in-depth. They ignored us, wouldn't say nothing. Then they kept making excuse after excuse after excuse. He would not come on Black radio. He finally came on Larry's show, I think last week for a little bit. They've purposely and systematically basically said, screw Baltimore. But anytime Black people, we need you, we're going to send you the Black guy, Mr. Rutherford. But Larry he won't do that in Carroll County. I have a very big problem with that. So I'm not voting for either one of the fools, tell you the truth.
Okay.
So
I'll take it.
I'm voting for my main man right here.
I'll take it.
I know somebody who wrote in Ivan Bates's
State's attorney.
We're not talking about that right now. We're not talking about that right now.
But they wrote you in though. So, but that's not the only thing on the ballot, the only race on the ballot. Right?
Yeah.
So we got a lot of races across the city. You in West Baltimore.
I am West Baltimore.
Even though I heard you about to go somewhere upstate.
Yeah, I believe it's tomorrow morning. Yeah, but the 40th.
You're in the 40th district.
I'm in the 40th.
We were
So Senator Antonio Hayes is my senator. He's my, he's the candidate, the Democratic nominee. So, but he and I went to college together. And delegate, that's again, we're nonpartisan, but I think it's an interesting race. To see it's exciting to see Melissa Wells made it past the primary as a black woman. Baby Bear still on the ticket. Hey, and Delegate Nick Mosby's also there as well, and then we have Josh Harris, the Green Party candidate. So it'll be exciting to see.
You just named 1, 2, 3.
I named 4.
Yeah, but you only can vote for 3.
Oh, I didn't say I was voting for. I was just naming the individual.
I didn't say slick with it.
I'm slick like you.
That's good. She started with the one she wasn't voting for. That's good.
I guess one thing that we can say,
with, though, right?
Yeah. Baby Bear.
No, she started with
Antonio Hayes.
Oh, no, I was talking about for delegate. She can't vote for anyone else.
She started with Melissa Wells for delegate. Then with the Baby Bear.
I acknowledge a black woman who's running for office.
Yes.
I acknowledge an amazing black woman who's out there on the ground.
So here's my question.
And again, hold on. Okay, so black girls, and we're not, to your point, we're not saying we're Republicans or Democrats. We're more so, instead of focusing on the party, we need to start talking about the policy, right?
Exactly.
And we get so caught up, and who's going to come back to your community? As you said, who's going to open the door and create resources? And at the end of the day, there's a lot of government contracts on the table. And we got to talk about how people of color, black people who built this city can get more access to those resources so we can pass it down, so we can talk about the crime, right? And how do we reduce crime? People, they don't want to sell drugs. They just need access to, it's not about a minimum wage, it's a livable wage.
And not chicken box and half money. We ain't talking about they gave you a couple peanuts.
I thought this was going to be the conciliatory kumbaya episode.
But that's real. Yeah. People need to take care of their families. It's real here. We have bills to pay. A lot of us have to take care of. So we are not saying we are loyal to any particular party. We have members in Black as well who are Republicans. We have folks who are Democrats, independent. But it's more so the collective power that we have as a collective voting bloc. There are 33,755 black women between the ages of 18 and 35 in the city of Baltimore. We did mailers for the first time with Black Girls Vote. We mailed out 4,064 mailers to women in the 21215 and 21216 zip code, just as a test, just to see, hey, we created a nice, dope flyer telling black girls, we need you to get to the polls. And this is why our Black Girl Magic is real. We're taking it to the polls. These are some of the issues that we want to talk about so that folks can see, oh, this is a cute campaign mailer that came in the mail with my name on it. So then it changes the conversation. Go ahead.
Here's my dilemma. This is what I was getting. You said Melissa Wells, great black woman. She got it. Do y'all just support any black woman because they run?
No, absolutely not.
We support
they don't
the policy.
Support candidates at all.
Well, one of the things I was going to say that there's other things on the ballot besides candidates. There's policy initiatives on the ballot as well. So I think that one of the things that we can say as Black Girls Vote is we would support voter registration and making sure that people are eligible to vote on actual election day, which question number 2 allows for. So that's something that Black Girls Vote can say we support. But are we going to say we support a particular candidate? No, because we're focused on the policy and what that candidate.
Do you support my ballot initiative? Question H.
The clean money initiative.
Clean money. It basically campaign finance reform.
Public financing.
Be able to raise, match
I don't know if Black Girls Vote supports that, but we can talk offline about my personal support.
Yeah, absolutely. Question H, folks, call in. We got to get their support. Come on now.
I think it's important, like you said, let's talk about the issues, and it's not about, we have men that we support as well as women, and more so when we start getting out of the conversation of I'm a D, vote for this person because they're a Democrat, vote for this person, then that's when psychologically we're already, no, we need to let them know that our vote is open to who's ever going to support us.
Absolutely. Independents rise up. Ain't about no party.
The swing.
You heard it.
So open
better not wearing no Hillary Clinton shirt around
Since we moved to the contentious part of the agenda, I was listening on my way over here, and I wanted to tell both of you that you handled Hassan's questions very politely, but don't let that man ask you, when are you starting Black Guys Vote? Tell him to do it. You are focused on Black girls voting.
One way, shape, or the form.
Right.
One way.
But you can't let him put that on you. you can't talk about black girls vote. Don't let him ask you when you're starting black guys vote. He's a black guy. Tell him to go vote. Okay?
Bam.
All right. Next question. You ready? Now we in.
As he just said, I'm not voting for either one of them. We need you to vote. We need you to vote, Mr. Politics.
Go ahead and keep talking. Can I ask a quick question?
Oh, thank God.
No, wait. Just lock the door.
But with what we see going on in the White House and the rhetoric, especially around Kavanaugh, I keep saying on many different talk shows that this is the era of the women vote. That we're going to see women come out in masses like we've never seen before because they're fed up. The Me Too movement, the No More movement, and all these other movements and groups that we see are joining up and banding up. Am I right to say that we're going to see more women voters in this election cycle than we've ever seen? Do you see that trend?
Yeah, I honestly, I think it's one of the best things. Even though we may have women historically have turned out in greater numbers since what was the Reagan-Carter election, where that's where the shift happened, where more women voted. However, what's important that we have to realize is that it doesn't matter how many women turn out. It's just a matter who are these women voting for. And we saw in 2016, yes, we in the era of the Me Too movements, as we saw with the Women's March. You know, all these women are coming out to march and vote. However, 53% of them voted for President Trump. And so for me, I think it's important when we talk to people all the time, where people have said to us, why is it black girls vote? Why don't it just be, brown girls or everyone vote? And I think because we have to understand that people will come and try to hijack your movement and try to switch it up. And so we have to focus on the issues that are happening in the black communities. And so though, yes, that we may have more women coming out to vote, but we're really, really strategic and focused on getting more black women and black girls out to the polls, because he or she who turns out the vote controls the agenda.
Yeah, I just, as somebody that practices the dark arts of campaigns, I have to say that black women don't get enough credit. Mm-hmm. Black women have pulled our collective cojones out of the fire for years and years and years and years.
Yes,
Case
sir.
in point, we would have a Republican child molester as a United States Senator from Alabama if it weren't for black women.
And
black women have been saving us from ourselves for so long. So I'm glad that you guys are keeping it up. But I really want to stress the degree to which, as someone that practices progressive campaigns and has run campaigns all over the city and all over this country, I can tell you that we wouldn't even get out the gate without black women. They have been the untold, success story. It seems like they get kind of subsumed under the black vote or the women's vote. No. The black women's vote is a very particularized, highly charged, highly attentive, highly informed sector of the electorate that has saved this country from itself on many, many, many occasions. And so I just want to recognize that because, after Alabama, we were on Facebook, always on Facebook, and, very prominent white woman fundraiser, Colleen Martin Lauer, got on Facebook and said, I had made a post bigging up black women, like, thank you for saving us from having an absolute child molester as a United States Senator from Alabama. And here she comes, thank you to all women. And then I said, no, actually, that's not true. Because if just white women were voting in Alabama, he would have been the senator. It's black women that had a highly charged electorate that came out and voted, and so I just want to give you all props.
And when you have those conversations,
sounds like you want to be a sponsor.
Okay, development lady.
That's right, Dea. And when we have those conversations, it's hard and like you said, the data doesn't lie, and then people get upset as if you're anti-anybody. We're not anti-anyone, but to your point, it's black women who are saving the country, as some will say in certain instances, but it's also our black babies that are in schools without air, without heat, right? And then it's our black sons, as we mentioned, over 300 murders each year that are dying. So we're hurting as well. And as black women, we're strong, we're resilient, but at the same time, we have to talk about mutually beneficial relationships. And what do we get in exchange for this vote? Because millions and millions and billions of dollars go into campaigns. And I don't know any unwealthy people who don't play politics. All wealthy people play politics. Right. And so we have to talk about it and have a transparent conversation about it. So thank you for that.
Sure. And speaking of campaigns, one of the things that we have been really intentional about in some of the independent expenditure campaign work that we've done has been to say, if we are targeting black women with an independent expenditure campaign, you've got to have a black-owned firm at the table. You have to have a black woman-headed firm at the table. The problem is, at this point, there really aren't very many black women-headed political consulting firms. But given the fact that this is a huge part of the electorate that will turn out if targeted correctly, have you guys given any thought to, opening up some kind of side gig? I'm telling you, as someone that interviews and hires consultants all the time, we need some black women consultants because we've got...
And political analysts. It was impossible years ago to find a black female political analyst.
Yeah. But I mean, in terms of, as you talked about economic development, it's really important that if we are going to target black women with an ad campaign, we ought to have a black women ad firm. I mean, if you look at any other community, from the Asian community to the Latino community, you got to Rolodex full of political consulting firms that tell you if you want to talk to my community, you have to hire me.
That's right.
With you guys, I honestly...
So I think generationally in our community, and I talk about all the time, integration is one of the worst things that happen to black people, right? In my mind, right? And so we don't have the same fortitude, economic fortitude, but we have those entrepreneurs, and we're teaching entrepreneurship. And that's why I started by saying elections, entrepreneurship, and economics, that's how we get out of this. And so what's important for us, by being at a Morgan State University, having 41 young women being inducted to a chapter, they're now getting exposed to this, and now they have a different type of level of interest in politics, so that we could talk to them about, to your point, absolutely, how do you get a mailing firm? As I mentioned, this is my first time doing mailers, and I had to go to someone else. I said, I don't know how many black mailers there are, right? And so we could talk about us getting the contracts, but if we don't have companies that are, as some would say, shovel ready or ready to go, then that's a lost opportunity. So it takes time, but absolutely we think that more black women should be campaign managers, should be political consultants, doing mailers, doing advertisement, but at the same time, understand we want you to pay us like you pay them because we're creative and we can do it, we can get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, it just, if you go down the list of, the people that we're really excited about, Andrew Gillum, Ben Jealous, Stacey Abrams, they all have white campaign managers. Absolutely. You know what I mean? And so this is my
travesty.
I didn't go there. No, but this is my passion. It's about building a farm team up of black girls especially, but black folks in general. There just isn't enough political talent out there.
And we're the ones running for hiring
these political candidates, these political who lose.
Yeah.
But they just keep getting recycled because it's the good old boys.
They fail up.
Well, I think you have to be able to take a chance on somebody.
Yep.
For me.
Oh, yeah, you live.
Oh, no, I can see it there, but I was wondering where the footage was coming from.
You have to be able to. You have to be willing to take a chance on somebody. And I can just talk about my experience where I took a chance on a young brother who had, he had dabbled a little bit in citywide, but it was important for me as a candidate to give him the opportunity. I felt that I had the context to be able to raise the money, but I wanted to go ahead and find a campaign manager who I thought would be able to take my vision and I could take, who was young and hungry. And now I'm very happy and proud of that young brother. He's actually down there in Atlanta working with Stacey. So,
Oh, yeah, Marvin.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marvin, that's my buddy.
Yeah.
Okay,
so, I mean, I think you have to be able to do that. A lot of people who aren't in politics like me, I didn't know what to do. So, I think it's important that, you have the internships, that you make sure that you give people those types of opportunities, because I think we as candidates, especially if you're going to be a black candidate in a black community, you have to open that door. Because a candidate's here for a split second, but that campaign manager can really affect generations.
Here's my thing. Here's the thing with fundraising. Right? There's 3 fundraisers in this whole town.
It's energy.
They're all white. I mean, let's be honest. There's not one black political fundraiser in this town, period. And every black elected official
calls himself a fundraiser, but okay. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. But he doesn't do it here, right? Colleen Martin Lauer, love her to death. She's bad at what she does. Got to give her credit. Rachel Rice and Stephanie Murdoch. That's it. And you know what the problem is, though? When you have black political leadership.
You also have another one, the Benetti firm, David and Stephanie.
They don't care. The Mellinger Group, Stephanie.
Stephanie Mellinger.
Okay.
That's what we're talking about with Stephanie. Okay. So, I said Murdoch?
Yeah.
Mellinger, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Messed you up. Doesn't matter.
I was on another, like, who's she?
But here's the thing. If the black political leadership from those so-called Senate pro tems and all them other people decided, you know what? I'm going to hire a black firm to be my political fundraiser, guess who all the other black elected officials are going to start to choose now? But it all depends on those relationships, and we don't have that. Right. Stephanie was made from the East Baltimore blacks, from Jack Young and McFadden and them. They made her. When are we going to make a black one? Like Marcy, I used to tell Marcy and them from the Flywire this. Y'all can get 10,000 people to a Flywire party, but you can't get 10 people to go to a poll. That don't make sense. You got one of the best listservs we have. That's really all you need to get started. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's just don't get me started.
No, that's passion.
Yeah, it's passion. It's appreciated. I was backtracking though to say that there is talent, but to Ivan's point, like we have to be proven, and I think that oftentimes when we're talking about the professional circle, women of color have to be proven even more, and that's difficult to do when we're talking about local campaigns because there are campaign managers that are African American women that are doing well and successful, but when we're talking about local races, people tend to go with the names that they know, and.
That's why I really have to say, shout out to, and I mean, full disclosure, I'm someone who said, what the heck is he doing? Shout out to him for hiring Marvin, giving him a chance to say, yeah, no, you've never managed a campaign before, and yes, this is a major citywide, but I see something into you. I see something in you, and I'm going to pour it into you. That's the kind of things that we have to do. Take more chances with folks. I'm not saying just pick anybody, because God knows we got enough incompetent folks out there. But
stop taking them from out of the state. You're bringing them in from all over the damn country. But they don't have the confidence.
We're not going to elected officials or people running for office saying how many African Americans and black people do you have on your team, right? And so how do we change the conversation? Because to your point, we have these folks who are in office. Who are political fundraisers, but is their staff made up of African Americans, right? And so, but we don't demand it, right? And
but that's systemic to Maryland too, also because Maryland only has elections every 4 years. You know what I mean? In other states, the legislature is split, so every 2 years there's another cycle that you're going through. In Maryland, by and large, you know, after 2014, ain't nothing going on until 2018, unless you want to come to Baltimore City. You know, in 2018, ain't nothing else going on until, you know, so it's hard to keep good talent. If you go to, like, the reason why a lot of the bigger campaigns get folks from Ohio and Pennsylvania and Michigan is because those are battleground states. Those are battle-scarred veterans who do campaigns every 2 years. It's hard to work up that kind of experience in Maryland because there just isn't the amount of campaigns to do.
Yeah, but you still have the council races. You still got Baltimore, right? You still have congressional races every 2 years, even though they really aren't races.
We haven't had a competitive one since the 1990s.
But you also have to remember, you have to pay the campaign manager.
Right.
So if you want good people, you have to pay them. And, you know, the necessary evil of campaigns is fundraising. And unfortunately, we ought to say something. For whatever reason, we as a people don't really write the checks the same way.
We'll write one to pastor, though. We'll write one to pastor, but not to the candidate.
All day long.
So, you know, you have to be able to be in a position that you're willing to take risk. But I really like the fact, like, you know, with Black Girls Vote, they have the opportunity to scout, to sit down and find the talent, the people who are hungry, and with your collective knowledge and your national knowledge, then they can then push them in the direction so that they can then move up the charts, so they can get there and move up the ranks to eventually you sit down and see, you know, you running your own, you know, big time campaign nationally.
When you get home, you better knock Calvin upside his head. He just logged on. And we about to go off air. Calvin's been on.
Calvin's been on the whole time now. Shout out to
Calvin. Just came on. I'm calling you out, brother. Yin Yang twins in the studio.
So funny.
All right, we're about to wrap it up. We got about 3 minutes left.
Already?
Right?
We're just getting started.
I know.
Right,
We need 2 hours. They tell us, but we will, because we're about to get DMV radio. They just don't know. Tell us about November 16th, the event that's coming up.
So the second annual Black Girls Vote Ball will be at the Forum Caters on November 16th, another Black-owned spot in the city of Baltimore.
Women-owned.
Yes, and this event is so important because it's our marquee event. It's our largest fundraiser. We have our first office we were able to get this year as a result of this event. So this is where we're able to raise funds and folks can learn more about Black Girls Vote, we're highlighting the women at Morgan State University. As we mentioned earlier, we have some heavy hitters that are coming. Carol Moseley Braun, the first woman elected to U.S. Senate. There's only been two, her, Kamala Harris, and Kamala's doing a video for us. We also have some surprises that are going to come at the event, and we just want you all to come and support the mission of Black Girls Vote. But more importantly, if you believe in us, the work that we're doing, and the vision, support us, because we're out here fighting not just for us, but for the young girls who are behind us, because we believe in preserving the legacy and passing the torch.
What's the date again?
Friday, November 16th.
Where they go?
Forum caterers. Oh, blackgirlsvote.com.
Yeah, blackgirlsvote.com, or you can go to Eventbrite and just search Black Girls Vote second annual ball. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. When you run for office?
I'm focused on other endeavors right now. We're looking for sponsors for our Black Girls Vote Ball. So if you're interested, if you want to be a media sponsor, just
when you come back from New York, when you run for office?
I have no desire to run for office. None.
That's what I'm talking about.
I told her, y'all crazy. Like, no, it takes too much.
I will note to you that was not Dea's answer. It was just Nykidra, okay? She did not disavow any interest in running for office, okay?
I'm focused on other endeavors.
We will have her back on when she's ready to make an announcement. Remember, we asked you first.
Okay, gotcha.
And the announcement better happen first on DMV.
Absolutely.
Was it the Baltimore next great
I just want
female
to thank you guys.
Oh, Calvin,
so
come
much.
on, it's too late.
Oh, Calvin,
beautiful,
bruh, you trying to slam that barn door? The cow is wandered away, okay?
Bro, you better go buy some dinner, flowers, chocolate, all that.
Get it ready.
Look, y'all, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Thank you for coming
for having us. We appreciate the work you're doing and the passion that you all have, and more importantly, our passion towards our community and just wanting to see the upliftment of our community. So thank you for a platform to give us to be here and just share the work that we're doing. So thank you guys so much. And I see your ratings are rising through the roof. So congratulations.
We doing a little something.
We do our research.
Even when some people come in late, $50 fine.
Hello?
Man, your lawyer can't bail you out of this one. He bailed you out the last one.
It's my mother's birthday.
Shout
out to my mom. Happy birthday, girl. I'll see you in a little bit.
Happy birthday, Mom.
Yes, happy birthday.
Huh?
Day after my mom's
birthday. That's what I told you yesterday.
They had a birthday on Sunday.
Wow.
She's a mid-30s girl.
The big 35. No, I'm serious, man.
Was it Scorpio?
Scorpio? All the Sagittarius out here. You know, December baby.
Pisces. Tomorrow, make sure you tune in. DMV Daily, we're going to have a very impactful conversation about the divide between African Americans and the Jewish community in Northwest Baltimore.
That's going to be juicy,
according to an op-ed recently written, Christopher Urban and Evan Sir. So we don't want to miss that. And we'll be back tomorrow every day, 4 to 5 p.m. Peace.
Free Keith Davis.
Awesome. That's great.
The day. Soul at night on the new 1010 WOLB.
Ben Jealous has a clear mission. He wants to create better opportunities for families across Maryland.
The promise of our state has always been that this place would be a place where it's a little easier for your children to achieve the American dream.
And for Ben, that starts by making our students and their schools the top priority again.
I have a plan to restore the promise of our state, to fully fund education. We'll make sure that all their kids can go to a good school and get a great education by finally fully funding our schools, stopping the $2 billion of underfunding, budgeting our schools first, make sure our teachers are respected and paid better.
That's why President Barack Obama says, Ben Jealous has the vision, experience, and courage to move families forward. Ben Jealous, Democrat for governor. He'll put our kids first. This message has been authorized and paid for by the Maryland Together We Rise PAC. Marvin Randolph, Treasurer. This message has not been authorized or approved by any candidate.
Hello, Baltimore. Stay tuned to WOLB AM every Friday at 10 a.m. for the Frank Conway program. It's a powerful, hard-hitting, informative program, and it's all homegrown. Featuring Carlton C. Douglas, Attorney A. Dwight Pettit, Sister Zinga, and